Hey everyone, I'm Kim with Abundant Life Tarot, and we are doing another Mystery Mystic Monday video, and we are revisiting a case that we delved into back in October 2021, and that is the case of Heidi Planck. Heidi Planck disappeared under very suspicious circumstances in October 2021. And it has now been 6 months, and I have been thinking about her. There's been articles that have been popping up. I'll link one of them in the description box below. But I've been thinking about her and just wondering, what is going on? Does her family have any answers? Why is the police being so quiet? I know that the public is not going to be privy to all of the details, nor should we be, but I can only imagine if we're in the dark. I hope and pray that her family is not as much in the dark as we've been. And so Dawn from Mo & Boots, I love their channel, reached out to me just as I had started to think about Heidi again, and she asked, would I consider doing a updated reading or revisiting Heidi Planck's case. And I'm like, yes, I have been feeling it in my spirit to do so. So that's what we're going to do today. Check out the readings I've done on Heidi Planck's disappearance in the description box below, because it'll bring you up to speed with what's been going on. Every time there was an earlier development, we would do a reading on it, and then people had posted their insights. I have my own insights as to what I was intuitively picking up on. So I am going to go ahead and just dive in and do a revisit reading, and just praying and hoping that very soon the answers will come, not for us, but for those who love and care about Heidi. All right, without further ado, let's get started. All right, you all, let's get started on our follow-up reading regarding Heidi Planck's disappearance. It's been 6 months, Spirit, and we are asking for insights that are important to this case that, can help move it to a direction of revelation. Okay. Dating history or killer knew a victim. Okay. Victim had a history with the killer. Okay. Argument or fight is a strong factor. Money may be involved. Okay, I gotta chill there. I'm gonna set these off to the side, and I'm gonna zoom in for just a moment. Okay, so dating history or killer knew a victim. This is speaking to the fact that what has happened to Heidi is not because she was amongst strangers. This is because either she was closely involved with someone who is responsible for her being in the Hope and Flower. Because let's keep it real. Something happened in the Hope and Flower building where she was last known to be, where she was last seen. If you watch my other readings on Heidi's disappearance, you will see that Spirit is constantly speaking about that building, okay? Not to mention the different links of information I've left in my description box, other YouTube channels who are deeply investigating this, news articles. You will understand that The dating history is not so much like maybe her husband, her ex-husband, or even the gentleman that she was dating who lives in the Bay Area, who works for the like Facebook, I don't know, nonprofit organization. I don't know. I don't sense it's them. I sense that it could be someone else that she was mildly dating or had a close relationship with that linked her to the Hope and Flower building. But the ultimate responsible party to what happened to her, because they are surmising that she was met with foul play in that building. That's what came out over the past several months. So I'm sensing that multiple people know and multiple people are involved. There was someone she was dating that was the reason why she was there at that building, at the Hope and Flower building on the day of her disappearance, but that the person ultimately responsible for her disappearance, they knew her as well. And they were the ones that also were orchestrating what transpired with Heidi. Okay. I have linked an article from the Los Angeles Magazine. I believe it's Los Angeles Magazine. If not, if there's any other articles I find, I will put them in the description box or pin it as a comment. It's interesting now, 6 months later, and what has been revealed, what has come up. And her former boss, I won't say his name. You all know who he is. He is still facing like fraud charges against him, allegedly against him, from the SEC. And one of the partners that he was involved with, they are currently serving a 15-year term. So, it's just interesting to me that her place was soon after she disappeared. Her home that she lived in, her home was raided by not just like local police. We're talking about, the feds. They wanted to search her home in relation to what was going on with her bosses. So I don't know, you all, like that. You just can't ignore those kind of bits of information. When does that happen to the everyday person? It really don't. So she definitely, this was not something that she just happened to go to a stranger's house or an acquaintance. This was intimate, and intimacy cannot just be, it doesn't have to just be a intimate partner. It can be your intimate colleague, your intimate relationship that people have with their bosses. And I'm not talking sexual. I'm talking everyday working and dealing with someone. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So we're going to put those up there. Then we've got arguments or fight is a strong factor. Okay. So I'm just going through all these different pictures flashing in my mind as I'm looking at her, the pictures off to the side here. There was heated words exchanged, people calling her out of her name. Like it felt targeted. She felt targeted, threatened. There were flashes of anger, somebody having words to say to her. White, you white. I'm not going to cuss on the channel or whatever, but there's something going on there. Arguments or fight was a strong factor. But let me tell you this. There was a bigger fight that happened even before the night that she disappeared. When the last place she was seen was the Hope and Flower building. There was an argument or a strong exchange of words dealing with something else. Money. Could be a place of employment, her job, money, an expectation to pay, a debt owed, someone feeling like a debt was owed, money at stake, money to be lost, money may be involved. So an argument is a strong factor. And the argument was surrounding money, debts owed, or some potential loss of money to happen. Victim had a history with the killer, dating history, or the killer knew of the victim. This was someone she knew that is responsible for Heidi's disappearance. Okay? That's what we're talking about here. So I do have some questions that we're going to ask. Okay, we're going to ask. So now, Spirit, we want to know what's been going on. It's been 6 months with Heidi, not here, not with her son, not with her friends, family. What's been going on with the investigation? What's going on with Heidi's case? What's going on? We've got signs. What's going on? Investigator. Bones and baby. That's interesting. That's interesting. I'm going to reshuffle. Just want to make sure these are nice and shuffle good. Okay. So we got signs, investigator, bones, and baby. So the investigation is still very much underway. Sometimes it can feel like a case has gone cold when in fact there is movement. There is signs and signals being followed and pursued and investigated with this investigator card sitting next to this card. So that is good to see. That is a relief to see. I will say that. Anything else, Spirit? Bones. My comment is this on bones, is that it's been 6 months, that there is still some physical evidence of what happened to Heidi somewhere. Okay? That's what I'm picking up with bones. I mean, I'm picking up on other things, but I am going to be respectful and not share. We've got parasite that jumped. Something that ate away at her. Oh my goodness. We got baby. That's an interesting card to receive. I'm going to pull a tarot in just a minute and then put it all together. Okay? Put it all together. Spirit, any additional insights on what is going on with Heidi's case? Oh my goodness. I'm going to have to reshuffle those 1 second. Try not to. Actually, this is a good time to zoom out and straighten up the... All right. Let's reshuffle. So, we got signs, investigator, bones, baby, and parasite. Any additional insights on what's going on with Heidi's case? What is going on with Heidi's case, Spirit? Got judgment, that flipped into my lap, and then there's one that flew all the way underneath the table, but of course. Oh, that's interesting. You have to get up and get that. Let me show you guys what that is. Let me show you. This is judgment. Justice. These two cards jumped out of the deck. One jumped in my lap, the judgment. Justice flew to the floor face down like this. I don't take anything for granted with these readings. Okay, I'm going to set these off to the side for a moment. Let me see, I need to make room. So, let's talk about it. Signs are being looked at. We talked about that before. There are signs that are indicative of what may have happened to her that's being investigated. You know, when I went back and looked at the news articles as I was getting ready to do this revisit reading, I was reminded about how the police actually sounded really confident that they knew something happened to Heidi in the Hope and Flower building that led them to believe that she met her demise there, and that it was imperative that they get to the landfill where that Hope and Flower building's refuse or whatever they call it, gets to that landfill and to look through all the trash, look through all of that to see what signs they could find that she was there in the building, what they have found already, what physical forensic evidence they had already found in the Hope and Flower. They wanted to see if it had ended up in the landfill. So they were searching for evidence. They are still investigating. So to them, this is still very much an active investigation. This is also not just, we think she just OD'd, or we think that, some low-level situation has happened. They recognize that something sinister has happened here. Okay? So that's comforting to know. I'm not quite sure what to make of the baby card. I don't know what to make of that. Sometimes it could just be speaking to, if this is an image of a sonogram, so something, captured in film, a picture here. I don't know if this means that she was expecting a baby, or that something came up in terms of that line of direction for the reading. What I'm picking up on is actually looking at what I'm looking at in the card, which is someone viewing a picture. Okay, a picture being an important clue about who may have been around her that night, what she may have been doing, Heidi, and what may have been going on. Also, something brewing, something growing, something kicking up dust in the horizon that was coming and moving and gestating and growing in her life, that was a reckoning. When you're about to give birth, it's a reckoning that you're going to deal with, right? And so something was coming up, something, was happening. And so the authorities have now become very much in the know about what was coming up here with this judgment card. They are analyzing, they're judging, they are looking at that. And interestingly enough, the judgment card represents the time period of October 21st to November 20th. That's the time frame of when she disappeared, but it's also could be tied to when something, else was percolating and growing. What was coming up on the horizon for her that could have put her in jeopardy to transition with this judgment card, okay? What could that have been? What was also moving forward and growing? There was an investigation into her boss, allegedly, that was going on at the same time of her disappearance and authorities investigating. Justice is about, people are seeking justice for what happened to her. Okay, so that is also assuring to see that if first, from my vantage point, looking in as just a regular lay person, a civilian, looking in, I'm like, nothing's happening here. Is justice going to happen for Heidi? What is going on? If she was really in the witness protection program, I'm sure we would have heard that by now. I'm sure that her family wouldn't be guessing and wondering what was going on here. So the justice card is assuring that the wheels of justice are moving. Slowly, yes, but they are moving. Parasite. Who is a parasite in all of this? Who is a parasite? Who consumes and eats up their host until their host is a carcass and no more? And then they move on to the next unsuspecting host. Who is that parasite? That's also critical information that the authorities are looking at. All right, let's move on. I could go on all day, as you all could see. So we kind of talked about this here. I'm going to ask specifically, Spirit, are there any important clues that we need to be aware of surrounding Heidi's disappearance? Videos, dark hair color. Every time I was doing her reading, this card or some card that was similar to it would come up over and over again. I even did a pre-reading the other night when Dawn from Mo and Boots had reached out to me. I was like, let me just kind of do a little touch base to see if it's a reading I need to revisit or not. And lo and behold, guess what popped up? Dark hair color. So I shuffled this good and worked and used this deck in another reading. So we're looking at important clues. Okay, we're looking at important clues. We got videos, dark hair color. Whoever is the main perpetrator is someone who has considerably dark hair color for their skin tone, for example. Maybe they're fair skin, but with dark hair. Hair being also an issue for this person, whether they are balding or they have too much hair. Hair being a focal point about this individual. Videos, things captured on video, surveillance, videos at work parties, Christmas parties, a party. There was some sort of video evidence, a party, a gathering, a get-together. Sorry, I'm kind of going in and out of a trance here. Human trafficking is interesting to me. But you know, we've talked about the human trafficking card many a time during these types of videos. We got Eight of Swords. We've talked about it because it can literally mean, oh, maybe she was sold into, human trafficking. Or it could mean that someone did something to someone in exchange for money. Money being a main motivating factor in moving a human from one area to another when I hear the word human and then trafficking. And there's someone who is filled with anxiety. Someone close to the situation may not have been the ultimate player or the ultimate one who caused Heidi's disappearance, but may have contributed to what has happened. And they are the ones that have been, for the last several months, been losing sleep, anxiety filled, scared of their own shadow. And this is why it's important for the authorities to maybe revisit again, talking to folks in the building, because it seems like the folks who come and go in the Hope and Flower building, they don't stay for long. So it's important time is of the essence in terms of, reviewing surveillance, reviewing videos from the night that Heidi was in the building. Was there any other videos that are on her social media or on other people's social media that can indicate what may have happened? Glimpses of her. There's some money element tied to it with the human trafficking card. Okay. I'll see from, where is this at? If there's anything else important clues. Victim stalked by killer. So what this is telling me, there's evidence of some sort of form of intimidation towards Heidi over the months ahead of this disappearance. So the swords represents the season of winter and the timing of months. So if you say 8 of swords, you could say 8 months going back. That she was feeling the pressure and feeling like she was being stalked. If not by the actual perpetrator, by the person or persons who ultimately she encountered on the night of her disappearance. But I'm sensing she just felt this strong sense of being stalked. Someone watching her move, someone watching how she moves in terms of signing papers, what she's inputting into her computer, her laptop. There is vital evidence I'm picking up on here that needs to be reviewed by the authorities. That's actually captured. Videos can also represent like a computer. Okay. All right. Let me move on. I could go on and on. You all know that. All right, the next question we're going to ask about is, where is Heidi? So, because that's still the question, where is she? I had this, like, when I first did the readings, I had this hope that maybe she was like in like protective witness protection or something like that. But when the cops came out and was like, no, we have strong evidence that something happened in the Hope and Flower building, and now we're going to the landfills, that kind of dash my hopes for that. Okay, bank. We're asking Spirit about where is she at out of town. Where is she at? Or, you know, any clues to where she might be at. Any clues? I'm going to pull from here. Any clues? I'm going to be mindful of the time on these readings. I'm trying to keep them just to one video. Trying to keep them to one video if I can help it. And if what we can do is, if whatever I don't cover in today's reading, I will just either do a part 2, or we'll see if you guys have questions. We'll see if you all have questions that you want me to pose in a part 2 for Heidi. This is just to kind of get a lay of what's been going on, what's been happening. And then if we want to revisit it, we can. Just let me know, folks. Let me know in the comments section, or send me an email, etc. I leave all my ways of reaching out to me in my description box. Okay, so here's what we've got. Here's what we got. So I pulled from various decks here. We've got swamp, bank, money, financial records. Okay, gotta look at that. The path. What path was she on? Where has she been 8 months prior? What was going on 8 months prior with that 8 of Swords? The church. Somewhere where, I mean, this could be literally she's near a church. She's outside, just out of town. And no, this doesn't really help, you know, and this isn't necessarily my forte of being able to narrow down and go all the way in. I'm practicing, you all. I'm working on it. But I'm getting a sense here that in terms of her physical location, she is outside, she is submerged somewhere. She is submerged. This could mean underwater or submerged, suffocated, dirt, submerged with this swamp. It could be even, you know, I'm from California, but Northern California, and I don't know about swampy areas out there, but it could be somewhere outdoors in an idealistic area with a path, a nearby church or a nearby sanctuary or a place that's really peaceful and serene, just out of town from where she lives. You know, you're not going to find her in the Hope and Flower building. You may find evidence there, but you're not going to find her there. You're not going to find her in her city limits or, you know, in where she worked at. You're going to find her just out of town in a serene, swampy, watery kind of area, submerged even. Concert could speak to. Remember I said that there was some sort of gathering or get together that's captured on film or captured. Concert doesn't necessarily mean she's outside at a concert venue. Although I live in Northern California, we did have concert venues that were out. I call them in the pastures, out in the not even like the rural areas of Sacramento. Like you had to drive a ways. So it could be something like that, a nearby venue of some sort. Could be that. Or this could be speaking to when she actually went missing. What kind of environment was she in? It was one with music, and, you know, that kind of vibe, that energy of let's get together, let's have some fun, let's do that kind of energy. Sometimes there's drugs, sometimes there's alcohol, sometimes there's just straight music and vibing and dancing. So there's something to that. But then she was moved. I'm going to pull a tarot card to see if there's any additional insights to that. Out of town, though. Ace of Cups. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, so Ace of Cups speaks to, and with the Knight of Cups, speaks to maybe a love interest, someone that she felt close to and connected to. So the folks who are investigating this needs to look at whoever was living there or had a resonance there at the Hope and Flower, who she was visiting. They know what happened. This individual knows what happened to Heidi. They have the inside information, and they were close. I do remember from one of her past readings where it was like, oh, she was backstabbed or someone turned on her, a traitor, that kind of energy. So I recall that. And I recall feeling like this was someone that she had an intimate relationship with. They turned on her, and they were able to do so because of money or because of the threat of harm or the threat of losing out. And they sacrificed their new budding love with her for that. And so the path, if the authorities follow the path, the 8 months back, they will be in. There's some critical information that happened at the start and towards the mid to end part of summer leading up to her disappearance here in the bank records. So, and they may even be able to look at someone else's bank records, someone close to the situation with Heidi, and be able to pinpoint through their bank records what areas that they were at out of town to narrow down where she's at and where she's located. Okay. I think with my gifts, as I've been doing more and more of these readings, I'm looking more at the bigger picture, and then other psychics or readers are able to hone in on certain details. My vantage point is a little bit higher, and it's looking all around in these little pockets, but ultimately looking at the bigger picture. So that's why I find it interesting to see other people's takes on a disappearance case, because we're all picking up on different aspects of it, and it makes for a more collective reading experience first and foremost, but also a much more detailed experience where we all are conveying bits of information from our vantage points with our ability to see. All right. Now, I wanted to see if we could find out any clues about who may be responsible, Spirit. Who may be responsible? And I was also going to ask, see, this is what I get for getting all distracted. Actually, that's probably why I got distracted. Thank you, Spirit. I wanted to ask, what was next in the investigation? So just a quick question on that, and then we're going to wrap this up soon. But what's next in the investigation of Heidi Planck's disappearance, Spirit? What is next? Evidence, exploration of more evidence. There is evidence, gray hair color, somebody's hair could have been left there. Let me see if we kind of talked about it too with the Judgment card. There is some significant analysis happening in her case, in her, so it could feel like it's going cold, you all. I know for me, as a human being watching this and very interested in Heidi's case, it feels like nothing is happening, but there are things going on behind the scenes that are being analyzed and looked at. Okay, Ace of Pentacles is coming up. So this is speaking to, they're like having to kind of start anew and start from scratch and really look at things from, the financial vantage point following the money with this Ace of Pentacles, starting anew. A year from her disappearance is perhaps when we can expect some movement. The Pentacles represents the timing of years. It represents the season of autumn. So I'm sensing that that's when we may be able to anticipate a little bit more movement. Maybe news from someone, like major news of someone who is involved, has gray hair color, or this is just simply signifying that there's hair that was found. That was the evidence. That was the critical information that led the authorities to believe something happened to her. So that's why they continue to explore and try and figure out what has happened to her. Okay, I'm gonna pull one more card. What's next for the investigation? What's next for the investigation for Heidi? And if nothing else, what I am encouraged by is the fact that they're behind the scenes, they haven't given up. Oh, listen to this. Lies, deception, and a potential cover-up. So that's why the police and the authorities have had to start over. And they're not the only investigative body that's looking at evidence. It could be the financial aspects of it with this Ace of Pentacles here. Okay, so that could mean the SEC, the FBI. I don't know about CIA involvement, but in terms of law enforcement, it may not just be LAPD. It could be other agencies. And there is deception going on, clearly, but a potential cover-up that's happening. And so now the police are having to unravel why. So for at least a good year from following her disappearance, it's been a lot of cover-up happening. And we may not get, that's what I was speaking about earlier about justice happening. It's not going to happen when we want it to happen. It's going to feel like at times the wheels of justice have just grinded to a halt, but we just need to trust that evidence is being reviewed. People are pressing the authorities to keep going, even though the authorities, I think I'm just gonna say this. I find it a little disturbing. The police haven't come out at all with any statements, just to say we're still investigating. Public, please come forward. We want information surrounding your case. Now, this could mean that they have a lot of information that is pointing them to a direction of one person or two people, three even, and they want to see if those people trip up. Okay, that's what I'm picking up on here. Okay, and then I was going to ask, and then we'll wrap this up. So is there any clues about who may be responsible for her disappearance, or even just who may be involved? Just any clues surrounding Heidi Planck's disappearance and the person that may be responsible. We've got European features, someone of like Caucasian descent, child or childlike, okay, someone who kind of comes off as a little bit immature, okay. So we got European features, someone with dark hair, curly or wavy hair. This also could be implicating a woman who's involved, okay. Whether she wears wigs or whether she actually has really a nice full head of hair. But it could also implicate with these cards that there's a woman involved, a couple of people involved with this card here, child or childlike. This person kind of has an immature quality to them, more so than what you would expect from a person their age when I see the child or childlike card. Let me see if there's anything else from the tarot. And then we will definitely wrap it up for now. Okay. We got Page of Pentacles. So whoever she may have been talking to or lived there or has ties, strong ties to the Hope and Flower building is probably on the younger side with this Page of Pentacles. Financially motivated, could be an earth sign in their air, their sun, not air, their sun, moon, or rising signs, earth being Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. So they could be an earth sign, kind of on the young side in their 20s, maybe their early 30s. But this is also speaking to that financial element. Someone who is thirsty for financial security and will do almost anything to get it. So that also being something to think about and be aware of. Okay, so I don't know, you all. That's what I'm coming up with. Let me see if I can zoom out. I'll take a picture without the glare. Yeah, that's what I'm coming up with in terms of what's been going on with Miss Heidi. I'm hoping with the Justice and Judgment cards that this is speaking to. She will be found eventually, or at least the bones of the truth are going to be revealed. Okay, I'm just looking at shuffling cards and just shuffling because I like to shuffle them. But yeah, that's what I'm coming up with. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I definitely want to hear from you all. If you have any questions, or if you want to do another reading where we ask more pointed questions to Spirit, and of course, if Spirit is willing to reveal that information to us, I'm happy to arrange that in the future. Or just, we could just simply chit chat about our thoughts. And it is my hope that we are moving closer to what may have happened to her. Literally every other day, I am looking online to see if there's been an update to her case. And just recently, I was like, well, let me check in and see what's going on with regards to her boss, his, SEC case that's been going on. And so later this year, I saw that he will be going to trial, it looks like, in late 2022. So that could be tying also to this Judgment and Justice card. So to follow that. All right, you all, thank you so much for watching. Sending you so much love. Please, please, on your way out, hit the like button for me. It does help me. It helps the channel. And if you haven't already done so, consider subscribing. Take very good care of yourselves and your loved ones. Bye for now.